Imagine being a virgin your whole life, and then your doctor congratulates you on being pregnant, and you're just like, excuse me, what? Morning light. Heavy head, bare skin, warm sheets, and then him. Next to me, sleeping, shirtless, familiar, too familiar. My best friend. The first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was his collarbone. Yeah, I know, weird detail, but it was right there. He was lying on his side, face turned toward me, wearing that annoyingly smug half smile, even in his sleep. Of course he'd look good unconscious. Of course. And then came the realization, piece by piece. 1. I'm naked. 2. He's mostly naked. 3. This is his bed. 4. This is not my apartment. 5. I'm not alone. Oh my God. It burst out of me like a fire alarm. He stirred, groaned, and opened one eye, sleepy, green, and very much him. Morning, he mumbled, then froze. Sat up, looked around. Wait, did we? I don't know, I yelped, grabbing the sheet and wrapping it around myself like armor. Okay, no need to yell. Let me just think. We were at the club, right? The club. Music. Cocktails. Too many cocktails. I danced, he laughed, then blackout. I remember nothing. Literally nothing. I stared at him, willing my brain to rewind. Maybe we just slept. Like, actually slept. No funny business. That happens, right? He pulled on his shirt, giving me that guilty little boy look that didn't suit a 6-foot-tall man with a six-pack. You were naked. So were you. We're friends, Alex. Exactly, which is why if something did happen, we'd feel it. You'd feel it. I mean, are you seriously trying to logic your way out of this? I snapped. No, I'm just saying I would never if you weren't careful. I cut him off, my voice low. He looked at me, softened. Karina, I swear I wouldn't touch you like that unless you wanted me to. And even then, I'd ask, twice. Silence. He sat down beside me, close but not touching. That familiar scent of his cologne and last night's whiskey wrapped around my head. You're like my sister. I'm not your sister. I know, but still, if anything had happened, I'd remember. And honestly, I don't feel like me neither. It came out small, like a secret. He exhaled in relief. So we got drunk, passed out, and woke up in a very compromising pose. No trauma, no regrets, just like tequila brain. You say that like it's normal. It is, in a tragic millennial way. I got up, slipping into my skirt, found my blouse under the bed. My reflection in the mirror didn't look like me. She looked like a girl who'd lost control, and maybe a little bit of her innocence. He came up behind me, gently touched my arm. I'm sorry you woke up scared. That's on me. It's on the cocktails and your terrible taste in shot rounds. Fair. Let's just forget this ever happened. Deal. He grinned. Breakfast? You're making coffee. Only if it comes with forgiveness. We stepped out of the bedroom and left behind a sheet that might have known more than we did. And from that day forward, we pretended nothing happened. Because we were friends, and friends don't. It started with a text. Alex, club night, don't be boring. I'm picking you up at 9. Me, who said I'm coming? Alex, I did. Wear something illegal for morale. That was Alex. My best friend, my loud, ridiculous, infuriating, impossible to ignore best friend. He dragged me into things, then somehow made them fun. Or a disaster. Or both. And like always, I went. He showed up in ripped jeans, a white t-shirt that had no right to fit him that well, and that stupid smile that always meant trouble. There she is. There you are, still allergic to buttons, I see. He grinned, then held the door open like a gentleman. The club was already pulsing when we got there. Music like heartbeats, people like shadows, light cutting through the dark like a strobe knife. Alex was in his element. He knew the DJ, the bouncer, the bartender, half the girls. Karina, this is Tasha. Tasha, meet my forever partner in crime. Tasha looked like she belonged on a yacht, and probably had one. She laughed at everything Alex said, even the unfunny parts, which, to be fair, was most of it. I sipped my drink. Bitter. Too much lime, not enough denial. He danced with Tasha first, then a redhead, then a blonde. Meanwhile, I stayed in the corner like a sponsored wallflower, texting myself sarcastic commentary like, "Today I watched my best friend tongue kiss a girl wearing rhinestones on her eyelids. He's thriving." Still no Nobel Prize for surviving third-wheeling sober. Rude. Some guy tried to talk to me. I fake-smiled him into retreat. Another one asked if I wanted to dance. I lied and said I was engaged. Alex kept glancing at me between girls, not with guilt or concern, just casual, like, "Hey, you good?" And I always smiled back like, "Of course, idiot, I'm fine." Except I wasn't. I hated that I wasn't. At some point, he pulled me into a dance. Just for fun. Spun me, laughed. I laughed too. It was easy. With him, it always was. But his hands on my waist felt too warm. His laugh too close. His eyes looking through me, not at me. And maybe that's what hurt the most. We drank more. I stopped counting after the third cocktail. He ordered shots. I took them like a challenge. We played some dumb drinking game he made up on the spot. He kissed someone else during Truth or Dare and made a joke about tongue technique. I laughed. Loud. Too loud. Almost convincing. Then everything started to blur. Lights, music, laughter. His arms slung over my shoulder as we stumbled out into the street. "You're my girl, Karina," he said, in that sloppy, happy, drunken way. "I know," I answered, and tried not to think about how that made me feel. The last thing I remember is the elevator. His hand on the wall, me leaning against him, his breath warm against my neck, and then nothing. Darkness. The next day, he texted me. "Coffee? I feel like we need a ceasefire and caffeine. I'm not speaking to war criminals. I'll bring croissants." So, obviously, I said yes. He showed up on my doorstep with his signature smirk and 2 paper cups like peace offerings. "I come in, croissant-covered humility," he said. "You better," I snapped, stepping aside to let him in. "We need to talk." That sentence has never led to anything good in the history of the planet. I gestured to the couch. He flopped down like we weren't about to dissect the mystery of our maybe sex. I sat across from him, crossed my legs, tried to look older than I felt. So, we woke up naked. You noticed that too? I shot him a glare so sharp it could have shaved his jawline. Right. Serious face, got it. He sipped his coffee. "Look, Karina, I really don't think anything happened." "And you're sure because I know myself, and you. I'm many things, charming, irresponsible, devastatingly good-looking, but I'm not the guy who'd sleep with his best friend blackout drunk. You've slept with girls whose names you didn't know. True, but I didn't grow up with those girls. I didn't build pillow forts with them or watch every Harry Potter movie while eating cereal out of mugs. I sighed. Okay, so we're saying nothing happened. We agreed nothing happened. Even though we technically don't know? Schrodinger's hookup? I rolled my eyes, but a tiny laugh escaped. Fine. Deal. Deal. We never talk about it again. Never happened. Back to normal? Back to normal. Except nothing felt normal. He looked too calm, too casual, like this was just another Tuesday. And maybe it was, for him. For me, it was the morning I woke up realizing how breakable my little just friends fantasy really was. But I smiled anyway, because I was Karina, the chill one, the loyal friend, the quiet girl who never made things weird. And Alex? Alex was still everything he'd always been, and everything I couldn't afford to want. Forget it. That became the plan. I threw myself into work like it owed me emotional stability, answered every email within minutes, color-coded my calendar, drank protein shakes I hated just because they felt efficient. At night, I binged documentaries about volcanoes and serial killers because nothing says healthy coping like murder and lava. And Alex? He was Alex. Back to business as usual, sending me dumb memes at 3 a.m., texting, "You alive?" when I didn't reply for more than 5 hours, showing up with takeout and taking over my couch like he paid rent. "You're unusually productive lately," he said one evening, watching me scrub my kitchen like it was a crime scene. "I'm nesting," I replied, deadpan, "just in case I turn into a pigeon." He chuckled, stole a grape off the counter, and flopped down, legs wide, grin wider. I didn't flinch, didn't stare at his mouth, didn't think about that damn morning. Okay, I did, but only for like 0.7 seconds. Then I shoved it down the memory hole and mentally shouted, "Delete." Because that's what sane, emotionally well-adjusted women do, right? They delete. They deny. They don't daydream about what if while watching their best friend scroll through Tinder like he's picking a side dish. He showed me a girl once, long legs, fake lashes, zero personality behind the eyes. She's hot, right? Yeah, if you're into sentient Instagram filters. Harsh. Honest. He laughed, called me a gremlin, tossed popcorn at my face, and just like that, we were us again. Almost. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, when I was brushing my teeth or folding laundry or doing literally nothing, my brain betrayed me. I'd see flashes, imagined versions of that night. What if what had? Would it have been awkward, amazing? Would I have ruined everything? Then I'd snap out of it and go back to pretending I was fine. Because if you pretend hard enough, maybe you start to believe it. Annual checkup. That's all it was supposed to be. Routine, boring. 5 minutes of awkward eye contact and a paper gown that felt more emotionally exposing than nudity. "Everything looks good, Karina," the doctor said, scribbling into her chart. "Great. Can I go back to pretending I'm invincible now?" She smiled politely. Too politely. "We'll just run the usual labs, but nothing alarming. I'll call if anything comes up." Famous last words. 3 days later, I was in a coffee shop, sipping a caramel macchiato and scrolling memes when my phone rang. Unknown number. I never answer those, but something in me said, "Pick up." "Hi, is this Karina? This is Dr. Meyer's office. We got your results back." "Okay. We just wanted to say congratulations." I blinked. "I'm sorry?" "Your HCG levels are elevated. You're pregnant." Silence. I stared at the wall, then at my coffee, then at the girl next to me holding a croissant. She looked smug. I hated her. I think there's been a mistake, I said, calmly, like I was correcting a Starbucks order. No mistake, very clear levels, likely around 10-11 weeks. Pause. Pause. That's impossible, I whispered. You sure? Yes. You've had no activity? I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my phone into traffic and follow it. Because here's the thing. I was a virgin. Or I thought I was. Except there was that one night. The one we never talk about. The one we swore nothing happened. My hands were shaking. My heart was somewhere in my ears. I muttered thank you, hung up, and just sat there, watching the foam melt into my coffee like a metaphor for my sanity. Pregnant. From my best friend. From a night I don't remember. From something that technically never happened. I didn't cry. That would have made it real. Instead, I walked home like a robot with a caffeine addiction and a personal apocalypse brewing in her uterus. My thoughts looped like a glitchy playlist. No. Nope. Impossible. Someone mixed up my sample. Maybe it's a cyst. Maybe it's a lab error. Maybe I'm not awake. Maybe this is one of those hyper-realistic dreams that ends with my alarm and a cat meme. I spent 3 hours Googling, can pregnancy tests be wrong if you're technically still a virgin? Spoiler, they can't. Also, never Google when your mental state is being held together by sarcasm and toast. By the next morning, I had convinced myself it was a prank. Or a divine glitch. Or aliens. Okay, not really, but at that point, aliens felt less weird. So, I made an appointment at a private clinic. Classy one. Soft lighting, plants that were definitely not real, receptionists who smiled like Stepford wives. I walked in like I was fine. Name? The woman asked. Karina. Reason for visit. Peace of mind and the slow collapse of my identity. Sorry? Pregnancy confirmation. She smiled, tapped, printed a form. I filled it out with hands that barely felt like mine. They led me into the exam room. Dim light, soothing music, the kind of place where you'd expect a massage, not a life-altering medical verdict. The doctor was young, too cheerful. So, Karina, you think there's a possibility you might be pregnant? I think there's a possibility the universe is playing a really bad joke on me, yeah. He chuckled. I didn't. We talked symptoms. I had none. No nausea, no cravings, no missed period, because, plot twist, my body's always been irregular and uncooperative. They drew blood. I peed in a cup. Then came the ultrasound. Just for timeline purposes, he said. If you're far enough along. I'm not. Let's check anyway. He turned the screen toward himself. I looked away. The wand touched my skin. Cold. Uninvited. Seconds passed. Then, there we go. My head snapped to the screen. He froze the frame, turned it toward me. There it was. A tiny flicker. Rhythmic. Fast. Like a hummingbird's wings. Like panic. Like proof. That's the heartbeat, he said softly. I stared. That's mine? No, that's your baby's. My vision blurred. 10 weeks and 3 days. That's what he said. Exactly 2.5 months since that night. My brain whispered things I didn't want to hear. Alex. That bed. That morning. The silence. The deal. The lie. Are you okay? The doctor asked. I laughed. It was hollow and too loud. I'm great. Totally thriving. Pregnant and thriving. Should probably get that printed on a t-shirt. He didn't laugh. I got dressed, numb.
Outside, the world looked the same. Same traffic, same noise, same people yelling into phones and dodging puddles. But for me, everything had cracked. And at the center of the fracture, there was a flicker. Alive. Undeniable. And half made of him.
I didn't call him right away. First, I sat on my bed for what felt like an hour, but was actually 6. I scrolled, typed, deleted, Googled how to say you're pregnant without dying, watched 3 episodes of a cooking show I didn't care about, ate a bowl of cereal dry, then went back to staring at my phone like it held the answer to quantum physics. Finally, at 2:14 a.m., I did what every emotionally spiraling woman does. I FaceTimed him. It rang twice, then his face appeared, sleepy, shirtless, hair a mess. Karina, what the hell? I need to talk to you. Is this about Stranger Things spoilers again? Because I'm pregnant. Silence. Long, raw, deafening silence. His face went blank, like a software crash. What? I'm pregnant. Say it again. Alex, you heard me. No, I mean, how? I blinked. Seriously? You want the biology breakdown? I can draw you a diagram. He sat up straighter, rubbed his face. Okay, who's the... I just stared at him. He stared back. No. Yeah. That can't be... Well, you were there. Technically. Technically, nothing happened. We said nothing happened. I laughed. It came out cold. Guess my uterus missed that memo. He stood up, pacing now. Are you absolutely sure? I had 2 tests, blood and ultrasound. Saw the heartbeat and everything. Shit. Are you okay? That made me laugh harder. Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm glowing, enlightened, spiritually awakened by the ghost of tequila past. Karina, no, don't Karina me right now. I stood too, started pacing like a mad woman in a rom-com gone wrong. You said nothing happened. I believed you. I believed us. I believed it too. Then how the hell did I end up pregnant, Alex? He had no answer, just ran a hand through his hair like that would summon one. Are you sure it's mine? My heart stopped. What did you just say? He looked at me pale. I didn't mean, no. Go ahead. Say it out loud. Because God forbid the quiet, awkward girl from your childhood doesn't sleep around, right? Karina, I didn't know. I haven't even kissed anyone. Except maybe you, that night we agreed never happened. So congratulations, you got me, virgin and knocked up. He sat down, stunned. I just needed to ask for clarity. Clarity? Yeah. Let me give you some. I'm 10 weeks and 3 days. That's 2.5 months. Remember what happened 2.5 months ago? His jaw clenched, eyes dropped. I pressed my fingers to my temple. Look, I didn't call to start a fight. I called because this is happening. It's real. And like it or not, you're part of it. He looked up, and for the first time, something cracked in his expression. Fear? Guilt? I couldn't tell. So, what now? He asked. I swallowed hard. I don't know. I didn't get that far. I thought maybe we could talk, like adults. Right. No sarcasm, no defense mode. No, it wasn't supposed to happen. Just talk. He nodded slowly. Okay. Tomorrow? Tomorrow.
I ended the call and immediately dropped the phone on the bed like it had burned me. I curled up, staring at the ceiling, heart racing, brain screaming, because for the first time since that night, it wasn't a secret, it wasn't a theory, it was real. And he knew.
You think you know who you are? You think you have a grip on things, a rhythm. You're the girl with the planner, the color-coded files, the snack drawer at work everyone secretly raids. You're the responsible one, the smart one, the no thanks, I'm just here to help him not crash and burn kind of best friend. And then one day, you're pregnant with his kid, and every label you ever wore peels off like cheap stickers in the rain. We met the next day, and I went in with a plan. I was going to be calm, clear, mature, like those women in movies who wear blazers and say things like, let's be adults about this. But there's no version of adulting that prepares you for the moment the person you've known your whole life looks at you like a stranger. Because suddenly, you're a mother. He didn't yell, didn't run, didn't throw his chair or laugh or cry or collapse. He sat there like someone had pressed pause on his soul. And then, like every emotionally stunned man before him, he said the word, abortion. Not harshly, not cruelly, just like an option. Like it was logical, efficient, the path that made the most sense. And for a second, I got it. We weren't in a relationship. We weren't even sure if we'd had sex. We were just two idiots with tequila brains and a very real heartbeat on an ultrasound. But when he said it, something inside me froze. Because suddenly it wasn't just a word. It was a verdict, a knife, a suggestion that this thing inside me wasn't already real, already mine, already half me. So I said nothing. I let silence do the talking, because if I'd opened my mouth, I would have screamed or sobbed or said something irreversible. He watched me, waited, and when I didn't respond, he looked down, started talking about timing and pressure and how he wasn't ready to be a dad, how I wasn't ready either, how we could figure this out. I wanted to punch something, because of course we're not ready. No one is, especially not the accidental protagonists of a one-night blackout comedy turned horror. But something in me had already shifted. The moment I saw that flicker on the screen, everything changed. Not because I wanted a baby, not because I had a name picked out or a Pinterest board of gender-neutral nursery ideas, but because I felt it. It was mine, and I couldn't unknow that. We parted with no answers, no clarity, just confusion wrapped in denial topped with panic. Later that night, I sat in my bathroom for 2 hours, fully clothed, staring at my toothbrush like it was the only solid thing in my life. I kept whispering the words, pregnant, mom, him, heartbeat. And then I said the one word that scared me more than all of them combined. Alone. Because if he walked away, and he might, I'd still be pregnant. Still be carrying the product of a night I barely remember. Still be the girl who went from never been kissed to expecting without even feeling the moment it happened. So I did the only thing I could. I breathed. I wrapped my arms around my stomach like that would protect it from what was coming. And I whispered, okay, you're here. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've got you now. I didn't expect him to show up. He said he would, but that doesn't mean anything when your whole reality feels like it's balancing on a cracked eggshell. Still, he came. Jeans, hoodie, nervous hands shoved in pockets like they could hold the weight of this decision. His cologne hit me first. Faint, familiar, slightly too much, like he didn't trust himself not to overcompensate. I hated how part of me relaxed the second I saw him. The nurse called my name and I walked in first. He followed, quieter than usual, slower, like the floor might open if he stepped wrong. The room was white and humming. A monitor, a gel bottle, a screen turned just enough to not be threatening. I lay back, lifted my shirt, and felt the cold hit of the ultrasound wand like a slap from the future. I didn't look at him, not until the image appeared. There it was again. The shape, the flicker, the unmistakable proof of something I still hadn't fully accepted. And then the tech said it. The heartbeat, the numbers, the timeline. 12 weeks, 3 days. My chest tightened. I felt him move beside me, shift forward. And then he made a sound. Not a word, not a sentence, just a breath that caught, like he'd been punched in the lungs with something too tender can name. I turned my head finally, looked at him, and there he was, staring at the screen like it had betrayed him, like he didn't know how not to look away, like maybe for the first time he saw something he couldn't unsee. He blinked, eyes glossy, and it hit me. Not a thought, not a sentence, but an ache. He sees it too. Not just the shape, not just the science, but the reality. His jaw was clenched, like he was trying to swallow something that didn't want to stay down. His shoulders had dropped. He didn't look confused anymore. He looked terrified. And maybe something else. Something closer to awe. Or guilt. Or heartbreak. I wasn't sure, but for the first time since this all began, I didn't feel alone in the room. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say, because that was his nose. On the screen. That tiny upward curve. His profile. In miniature. Inside me. The technician printed the image and handed it to me in silence, as if we were both witnesses to something sacred and unspoken. I held the paper in my hand, trembling slightly, and for a second, just 1 second, I imagined it. The future. Not the chaos, not the fear, but a warm morning. Tiny feet, 2 toothbrushes by the sink, laughter. Then I crushed it. Stuffed it into my bag like a secret I wasn't allowed to keep. Outside the clinic, he didn't say much, but his fingers brushed mine. Barely. And for once, he didn't pull away. For a few days, it almost felt like we were something. Not a couple, not lovers, but a team. Kind of. A fragile, unspoken we forming in the cracks between fear and responsibility. He started checking in, texting me, "How are you feeling?" in lowercase letters, bringing snacks I'd once mentioned in passing, gummy worms, lime chips, mango juice, sitting near me like he wanted to say something but didn't trust the words yet. I noticed things. How he'd glance at my stomach and look away quickly, how his voice softened when he said my name, how he laughed less. I told myself, he's trying. And maybe he was. We even started making lists. Doctor visits, vitamins, insurance stuff. I wrote everything down in neat little columns, like bullet points could hold together a life. And then it happened. A message. A screenshot. One of those accidental moments that change everything, even if it shouldn't. It was from a friend. Not even someone close, just someone who'd been at a bar. Seen him. With her. Tall, blonde,
The kind of girl who looked like she wore perfume called Regret Me Later. Photos, drinks, laughter. Her sitting way too close, his hand not exactly stopping her. And just like that, the glass cracked. I didn't confront him right away. I sat with it, let it simmer, because I wasn't surprised. I was disappointed, and that hurt worse. We had talked. He had looked at the screen. He had seen the heartbeat, and still, he needed to feel wanted, desired, untouched by consequence. So I waited until we were alone. He was talking about strollers like he'd suddenly developed opinions on wheels and storage capacity, and I just said it. That I saw. That I knew. That he lied. That this, what we were building, required more than takeout and guilt. He froze. Tried to explain. To joke. To deflect. But I wasn't the same girl he woke up next to 2 months ago. I wasn't going to laugh it off. Wasn't going to let him be half present and call it love. So I told him, he can't keep one foot in the past and one in the future. Not with me. Not with us. And if he wanted to disappear, now was the time. I watched his face shift through phases: denial, irritation, fear, shame. But he didn't say, "I'm sorry." He didn't say, "I'll do better." He just stared like he didn't know which version of himself he wanted to be. And I realized something. I couldn't raise a child with potential. I needed presence. And in that moment, he wasn't ready to be anything more than the boy I'd always known. So I turned, left the room, and closed the door. Not out of anger, but because I had someone else to protect now, and she deserved better.
The silence wasn't loud. It was soft, like snow, like the kind that falls on empty streets and covers everything you were trying to forget. I didn't cry anymore. Tears had turned into tiredness, into long mornings and slow walks and an ever-growing sense of weight, not just in my body, but in the room, in time. The baby moved for the first time when I was microwaving soup. I'd read about it. Flutters, they said, like butterflies. But this felt different. Not poetic, not gentle. It was sudden, real, a shift. And in that moment, something clicked. She was real. Not just cells and scans and due dates, but a person, a small forming human inside me. And I wasn't scared. I was exhausted, but I wasn't scared. What scared me was the thought that she might never know him. Not the Alex I knew. Not the version who danced with strangers and made sarcastic toasts in crowded bars, but the other one. The one who built Lego towers with me as a kid. The one who once cried when my dog died, even though he pretended it was allergies. The one who held my hair when I got food poisoning in 9th grade and kept joking until I stopped wanting to die. That Alex. I didn't know if he still existed. So I wrote a letter. Not because I thought he'd read it, but because I needed to write it. To say things I couldn't say to his face without breaking. About the fear, about the hope, about what it means to carry a future that wasn't planned but still felt like mine. I didn't even sign it. Just left it in his mailbox. Folded. Quiet. Fragile. And then I let it go. Or tried to. He called 2 days later. Late at night. His name lit up my screen, and I didn't answer. He called again and again, so I picked up. His voice wasn't confident this time, wasn't loud. It was quiet, hesitant, real. He said he read it, all of it, twice. The first time, he didn't even breathe. The second time, he cried. He told me he didn't know how to reply because every version of a response felt smaller than what I'd written. He said he sat on the floor for over an hour, just holding the paper, reading and rereading the part where I said, "I won't force you to become someone you're not, but I also can't keep hoping you'll become someone you're not ready to be." He admitted he wasn't ready before, not even close. That the idea of fatherhood felt like wearing someone else's clothes, stiff, wrong, too big. But something cracked, not just because of the words, but because of what they meant. Because I let him see me, not angry, not defensive, not sarcastic, just honest. He said he didn't know if he could be enough, but he wanted to try. And that was more than he'd ever said before.
It started with a cramp. Nothing dramatic, just a little twist in my lower belly, sharp enough to make me pause while brushing my teeth. Then another, and another. I stood there staring at my own reflection, toothbrush still in hand, belly huge, hair a mess, and said out loud, "Oh." Not "it's time," not "this is it," just "oh." I texted him, just one word. He replied in less than 30 seconds, and 10 minutes later, he was at my door. No jokes, no questions, just him, breathless, in a hoodie and mismatched shoes, eyes wide, like he was about to sit an exam he didn't study for. We drove in silence. Not heavy, not awkward, just full. He kept glancing at me, like he expected me to break. I kept looking out the window, wondering if I'd ever be that version of myself again, the girl with a flat stomach and no idea what contractions felt like. By the time we reached the hospital, the pain had deepened. Not unbearable, just loud. A rhythm I couldn't mute. They checked me in. Monitors, gowns, lights too bright. He never left. He held my hand through it all. No heroics, no speeches, just his hand, warm and steady, grounding me. I was terrified. Not of the pain, not of the birth, but of the moment after. The moment where everything would be real. No more someday, no more planning or waiting or wondering, just her. Here. The nurse said it was time, and I broke. Not from fear, from awe, because somehow in all the chaos, I looked at him and saw tears in his eyes. Not panic, not confusion, wonder. He was watching me bring a life into the world, our life. And in that moment, it didn't matter who we used to be, how it started, what was broken. There was only this room, this heartbeat, this breath. And then she cried. The tiniest, rawest sound I've ever heard, like the world beginning again. They placed her on my chest, warm, slippery, perfect, and he reached out, trembling, touched her hair, said her name like it was sacred, and kissed me on the forehead, the same way he had before. Only this time, it felt like forever. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. Not the baby, no one dares say that out loud, but the chaos, the uncertainty, the risk of losing him before I even knew I had him. And the truth is, I don't. Because I didn't just get a daughter, I got him too. Not the version I thought I wanted when I was 17, not the fantasy version with a leather jacket and a bad attitude, but the real him. The one who wakes up at 3 a.m. for bottle duty, who sings lullabies out of tune, who learned how to braid baby hair just because she once asked, with chubby fingers on his face. He makes breakfast on Sundays. He forgets where the pacifiers go. He still burns toast and argues with cartoons, but he kisses me like I'm still a secret. Like every day with me is something he's choosing again and again. And our daughter, she has his eyes, and she will be the happiest girl ever with her mom and dad and maybe a sister.
Some stories begin with friendship and end with something you could never imagine. But every ending is also a new beginning. Thank you so much for watching our video. Please share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you think about this story. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. You and your opinion are very important to us, and we can't wait to see you in the next story.